Good morning, and thank you for joining me. My name is Jenny Vo. I'm sorry. Good morning, and thank you for joining me. My name is Jenny Vo, and I am an ESL ISST in the Katy Independent School District. We are located in Katy, Texas. Um, Thank you again. Thank you for joining me this morning. I will be sharing with you some of my favorite strategies to develop oracy and literacy for your English language learners. Give me a few minutes. Let me mute this. Sorry, that was throwing me off. Due to our limited time, we're going to get started right now so that we may have some time for questions at the end. I ask for your forbearance a little bit if we run into any problems with technology. It is my first time using YouTube Live, and I just learned how to screen share during the presentation. So if we lose each other for any reason, please feel free to join another session, and I will promise that I will get my presentation to you after the event. Okay? I'm going to start sharing my screen now, so give me a few seconds. Our topic for today is strategies to develop oracy and literacy for our ELs. If we are going to talk about oracy and literacy, we have to talk about the importance of language. There is no oracy and literacy without language. I love this quote from Nelson Mandela. It reads, "Without language, one cannot talk to people and understand them. One cannot share their hopes and aspirations, grasp their history, appreciate their poetry, or savor their songs." I feel like it's such an inspirational quote, and it deals with our topic really well. Okay. Language addresses the 4 domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. When working with ELs, we want to make sure that we are addressing these 4 domains. An important factor to consider before your teaching starts, or even before your students enter the classroom, is the classroom environment. You want to make sure that your room is warm and inviting, and of course, language rich. Make sure there's lots of books, lots of print on the walls. Make sure your sentence stems are posted. And arrange your desk in groupings as to facilitate collaboration and peer support for your ELs, especially your newcomers, your beginners, and your intermediate students. If possible, have bilingual books in different languages available, because there will be some students who, even though they are not literate in English, they are literate in their native language. Having these books available so they can read will help them to lower their affective filter and to make them more receptive to learning. A great book to read that really delve into how to set up a language-rich classroom is The 7 Steps to a Language-Rich Environment, Interactive Classroom by John Seiklitz and Bill Perryman. Okay. In this book, the 7 steps they cover are: 1, teach students what to say when they don't know what to say. And they have this really neat poster that gives students some questions to ask instead of just saying, "I don't know." Have students speak in complete sentences. Sentence stems really help with this. We will be looking at different sentence stems in a little bit. Randomize and rotate when calling on students. All students should have an answer ready to share. And when you randomize and rotate, these students don't know whether they're going to be called on, so they have to be ready. Use total response symbols. Involve movement in some way, by standing up, showing a thumbs up sign, touching your head, whatever to indicate that they are ready. Use visuals and vocabulary strategies. Provide opportunities for structured conversations, and provide structured reading and writing activities. I really recommend reading this book if you haven't read it already. It would be even better if you can attend one of the cyclist workshops that covers this book. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Mary. And hi, Team Topo. Thanks for joining me. Now that we talked a little bit about setting up your classroom, let's talk about oracy and literacy. To develop oracy and literacy, students need to be given authentic opportunities to practice speaking, listening, reading, and writing. One of my favorite people to follow on Twitter is Valentina Gonzalez. She has an amazing blog in which she shares many wonderful strategies to use with our ESL students. Her blog web address and Twitter handle are on the slide. Make sure you follow her if you have not already. I have the added privilege of working with her in my district. So in one of her blog posts, Valentina discusses 3 ways to ensure effective classroom talk. I'm going to touch on these a little bit. 1, model talking routine. Make sure you teach your students how to participate in an academic conversation. They make sure they know how to take turns, how to look at the person who's talking and not to interrupt. Second, craft your essential questions. Make sure that the talk is relevant to the topic, and the questions you want the students to answer will help them understand what you want them to learn. Make sure the questions are open-ended so as to encourage inquiry, to encourage exploration, and to encourage deeper thinking. Offer sentence stems. Sentence stems will encourage students to speak in complete sentences and use proper sentence structure. Your beginners really need the support of sentence stems. Academic conversation addresses the listening and speaking domains. Authors Jeff Greer and Marie Crawford define academic conversations as sustained and purposeful conversations about school topics. Students need to be given many opportunities to participate in academic conversation. And like Valentina says, they first need to be taught the protocol of conversation. Partners in the discussion are taking turns talking, taking turns listening, and then responding to each other. I'm a big fan of Meredith Avaro. She really breaks down reading and writing strategies so that they work for our ESL students. One strategy that Meredith likes to use to facilitate conversation is talking heads. And I have a little picture right there. So you need a big poster with 2 heads, and each one of them needs a speech bubble. You write the sentence stems that you want the students to use on Post-its and stick them on the appropriate speech bubble. Then students are assigned numbers like 1 and 2, and then they take turns talking based on their numbers, and then they can switch roles later on. This really elicits participation even from our beginning students because they have that sentence stems there as the support. Speaking of sentence stems, please provide sentence stems for your ESL students. Post them on the wall so that they can see them and refer to them independently. My recommendation for sentence stems is to introduce 3 to 4 per unit or even per grading period in each of the content area. You need to model to the students how and when to use certain sentence stems and give them lots and lots of opportunities to practice. This slide shows some of the sentence stems that you can use for accountable talk, where students are participating in academic conversations. So they need to learn how to say, I agree with, and give their proof or their reasoning, or my strategy is like yours because we want them to expand on their thinking and their conversation so that the discussion is more meaningful. Okay. Putting it all together, oracy and literacy, they go hand in hand. Okay. So when we are reading will elicit conversation because you're talking about the book, you're talking about the themes, you're talking about the characters. Okay? When you teach students to talk, it naturally goes with listening and reading and writing. The next few slides show us how important and useful sentence stems are for our ELs. We can provide the students with sentence stems in all the content areas. If they use them to talk, they can certainly use them to write. Here are some examples of sentence stems that you can use for reading. Okay? After using the sentence stems for whole group discussion or small group discussion, have them respond in their journals or record their responses in one of the recording apps. And I'm gonna share one of my favorite apps later on. Okay. Here are some specific ones for to use for writing, okay? Where they can talk about what they prefer. They can share, they can do opinion writing, they can do persuasive writing, or even expository writing. These are just some of the ones that I like. Okay. And great sentence stems for math. This left one here, you can use for your math talk, where they say, I think something because they share a strategy. Another strategy would be another way to look at. And then you can segue that into writing, and they can share the process that they took to figure out a problem, the steps they took first, next, then after that. Some sentence stems for science. I observed, I noticed. My data shows the problem can be solved by. This goes for talking, doing the experiment, and then writing about it in their interactive notebooks. And then some sentence stems for social studies. Have them make connections from history to the present, the cause and effect, the similarities and the differences, comparing different historical figures. Again, I tell you, one of my favorite people is Meredith Alvaro, and this is another strategy that I learned from her. This is called Picture Talk, and this is a great strategy to develop vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structures. And it naturally progresses from oral to written to reading. Okay, first you start off with a picture. Okay, and then the students can add nouns, adjectives, verbs, etc. that they associate with the picture. Then you provide them with a couple of sentence stems for them to practice using the vocabulary. And then have the students write about it. Okay. Another strategy I like is the QSSA. Okay. It's a wonderful strategy that allows the students to practice all 4 domains of listening, speaking, writing, and reading. It incorporates total response and randomization from the Silence book that we talked about earlier. And so you start off with a question. You give the student a question. You give them a signal for them to show what they had when they have an answer ready. Provide them with a sentence stem for students to respond to the question. Give them the opportunity to share with a partner and then with their table group, and then call on a few random students to share their responses. Some examples of QSSA from the book Boosting Achievement by Kara Sava and Anna Mattis. See how they, for each of the content areas, they show a sample of how you would use this strategy. Hi, Carol. Okay. And roving paragraph is another strategy that is a natural segue from the QSSA. The roving paragraph activity incorporates all 4 domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Students write down their response to the prompt using the sentence stem provided, and then they rove or walk around the room to find a partner. Each partner takes turn reading their response. You add your partner's response to your paragraph if you like it, and then you repeat the process with different partners until you have the number of sentences that you need for your paragraph. Again, I refer to Carol and Anna's Boosting Achievement book for a more detailed explanation of how to facilitate roving paragraph, the roving paragraph activity. With the advancement of technology, many apps have been developed that are very helpful in helping to develop oracy and literacy in our ELs. Okay? For listening, there's Brain Pop ELL, there's Flipgrid, there's Starfall, there's Epic. For speaking, there's Flipgrid, again, Seesaw, Telegami, Shadow Puppet, Duolingo, Grass Kids, Telestory, and iMovie. Writing, there's Story Jumper, Padlet, Poplet, and reading, Epic, ReadWorks, Newsella, Kids A through Z. These are just some of the technology apps that I've been exposed to, but there are many more that are available that you can Google or read up on. Okay. A great book to read about using technology with ELs is ELL Frontier by Heather Paris, Lisa Estrada, and Andrea Honesfeld. Okay. And in the book, this is one of my favorite charts from the book. It shows the Samir model for technology integration, where depending on the type of technology and its application, you can take the students into deeper levels of learning and creating. So let's look at some of my favorite apps to use with my ESL students. Flipgrid is one of these, and I learned about Flipgrid on Twitter last summer when I started participating in the ELL chat book club, and it's become one of my favorites to use with my students and even with the other teachers at my school. So for Flipgrid, it's an online discussion forum. There's an app, or you can just use it, the web browser. Students can respond to a posted question or scenario which practices their speaking, and they can post replies to other students' responses. This lets them practice listening and speaking. As a teacher, you can set up how much time you want to give the students. I recommend around 30 seconds up to 90 seconds, not more, because with our students, they're not going to talk a lot, but give them that opportunity if you want for longer conversations. And the best thing about Flipgrid is the student has as many attempts as they want to record. So they can record, listen to it. If they don't like it, they can delete and they can redo it. This gives them lots of practice, and then it gives them independence to determine the quality of their work. And for beginners and even your intermediates, I recommend providing sentence stems as part of your question so they have something to refer to. Okay. Another great app is Seesaw. Seesaw is a great tool for students to document their learning and to share with their teachers and their classmates and their parents. It's basically a digital portfolio. Parents can be given access and view the portfolio and comment on them. The students can also comment on other students' work. And again, it addresses all 4 domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And Seesaw is very easy to use. Students can snap a picture using phones, iPhones, iPads, or their Chromebooks, and then they can manipulate the picture by changing the size, adding text, and drawing on it. It kind of reminds me of book snaps that we use on Twitter. They also can create videos, and creating videos is a great use for like beginning of the year introductions, or to how to explain a math problem. They can read the stories that they wrote. They can write book reviews. The many applications are endless. Okay? This one is a great one too. This one is Chatapix, and it's an animation app. Okay, with Chatapix, you can make anything talk. You basically take a picture of something, a picture of a person, an animal, objects, a character in a book. You draw a line on the picture to make a mouth. And you can even add other stuff to your picture, like glasses or hats or whatever. And then you record yourself saying something. When you press play, you can hear what you recorded through the picture. It's great for your beginners and your primary students. Epic is an awesome online digital library that has many popular children's books by favorite authors. Some of the books have the option to be read aloud to the students, and I like to search for these read alouds for my beginners and my intermediates so that they can hear the story even if they are not able to read it. Teachers have the ability to create their own personal library with categories of books that their students can access. This works great when you are doing research and you want the students to just focus on certain topics, and then they don't have to waste all their time searching the whole library. RasKids is a favorite app for my ESL students too. Our district buys us an account for each school to use with our ESL students. And it's another reading library that's online, and they have hundreds of leveled interactive books. And they add new books every month, and there are even books in Spanish. So the students listen to the books. They can also read the books independently. They can record themselves reading the books. And then there's comprehension quizzes at the end. And RAS Rocket is a program online that rewards the students for good work. Teachers and parents can monitor the students' progress in RasKids. And I discovered this app about a month ago through my district. It's called Story Jumper, and I'm very excited to use this with my students next year. Story Jumper allows the students to write and publish their own books. Students can start with a blank book or choose one that is already pre-programmed with sentence starters. And so they can add design text boxes, and then they type in their text. They can add scenes, props, and even photographs from their own library. And then they can also add their voice. They can add music and even other sound effects. Story Jumper also lets the students read and hear books shared by other members from around the world. And then the students can also connect with these other authors. I'm going now to stop sharing my slides and go back to YouTube to see if I can answer any questions you guys have. Hi, it's me again. I'm going to look at the chat and see if there's any questions that I can answer for you guys live. Thank you, Carol. I learned a lot from you. Good morning, Vienna. And If you will email me, my email is on the first slide of the video, and I will be happy to share your the Stenson stamps with you. I have, if you look, I have it on my wall, and you're welcome to blow them up, post them on your wall, however you would like to use it. But email me and share your email address, and I will be happy to share with you. You too, Tamara. So I think we are out of time. So I really appreciate everybody joining me, and I hope you have at least taken one thing away from this session. Oh, I forgot. Let me share with you some of the books that I love. Here's Carol's Boosting Achievement. We did a book study on her with this book, I think in the fall last year. Academic Conversations. This is a new one that just came out by Larry Falazzo, and it's called the ELL Teacher's Toolbox. There are so many great strategies and activities that you can use with your students. So if you do not have this book, please get yourself a copy. Talk Read and Talk Write by Nancy. Nancy is speaking in one of the sessions, so please go listen to her if you haven't. Sheltered Instruction Plus. No More Low Expectations for English Learners. She was the keynote speaker. And Unlocking English Learners' Potential. There are a lot more, but these are the ones I happen to have on hand that we've done book studies on in Twitter with the ELL Chat Book Club. Thank you, everybody. See y'all soon. Hopefully see y'all soon.